This is the Get Real podcast with Josh Kearney, putting on his headsets right now as we speak. We're actually streaming live on both Facebook and YouTube. I'm Glenn Curry, and we haven't done this in a while. Actually, the last time we did this was maybe a month ago. So it's where you been there, Josh? We talked a lot about.
It's a crazy life. The life of a hypnotist is a crazy life.
That's right. That's right. Now you're centered, and so last time we talked at length about all types of things. Including The Sopranos, and we actually added some scenes that your wife cleverly, if there's such a word, introduced into the video itself, and that was very well done. I was very, very impressed with that.
Well, the big step that she provided to us, because sometimes technology challenges me, just like everybody else,
right,
is that she could get those things on her phone and clip it and send it to me, and I could introduce it to the show.
Is that how you did it?
That is how we did it.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good because. I do that myself.
You're very good at it. Yeah, I appreciate that.
But it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to do that. But she was clever, like I said, you did the editing, but to actually extract from our conversation about that one scene, for instance, with Furio looking for the money. I need the money.
Give me an extra 1,000.
Yeah, that's exactly how he does it too. And I tell you, I'm just. Just real quick, I know we're here to talk about hypnosis and so forth, but some people, my good friends said, Glenn, you got to watch these shows. And there's this one show, Peaky something or other.
Peaky Blinders.
Peaky, yeah. You know the show?
Yeah, I don't watch it.
I watched, and they said, oh, Glenn, you're going to love this. And I sat there looking at my watch the whole time. Felt like I was watching Frank Gorshin in a one-man show. Anyway, it's a long story. So what are we here to talk about the day before Thanksgiving? You mentioned earlier, it was kind of funny, that someone actually reached out to you for weight loss the day before Thanksgiving. You thought that was kind of shocking, and this is a busy week. So is it too late to have a weight? Shouldn't you have that discussion after Thanksgiving or not the day before?
Well, the point is that when people are getting ready to face their family, they very rarely take care of themselves the way that people that call for consultations really do. So when they want to, and it's funny, as you were speaking and we were getting ready, someone just reached out to us on Instagram across the country that wanted to do a smoking cessation with me, just did this morning.
Really?
So people are watching us, Glenn.
That's good. Okay,
so this is how he found us. He found us on the Get Real podcast.
So you found, and he's across the country. Where, in California or Kansas City? Where's he at?
The Northwest.
Northwest. Oh wow, boy. What was he in between protests? At a police station, or where was he?
Well, we're very fortunate to not usually have to deal with folks that are in that position. So
you never know.
Today we're going to talk about small talk.
Small talk.
So I want you to notice, and the things that we speak about on here, they all have purpose. And I mean, to one extent or the other, you might find us slipping into just having a regular conversation, but small talk will not help you, and it will not help the person in front of you. So today we're going to talk a bit about that. And we've gone over in the past the ways that we know that you're going to be successful with hypnosis, and those snippets are available on this channel as well.
Okay.
And today we are going to talk about the perils of proving things constantly instead of engaging with folks. So
I don't quite understand. Explain that. That I need some education here.
What makes us all connected, what connects us, one of the many factors that connects all people as being pretty much normal, is the fact that everybody wants to prove something. Mm-hmm. Everybody's looking to make a statement or prove something. And this is just naturally how things are. So when you step away from that and actually speak functionally to somebody and engage with them and connect with them, that's when you really you see progress in many, many different forms. So one of the things I like to do, and this is where we're probably going to fade into another clip. I wanted to say, when you were talking earlier, veal parmesan sandwich.
Yeah. What from Godfather 1?
No, from when Richie Aprile goes to that guy.
Oh, yeah, right.
The Beansy.
Yeah.
Veal parmesan sandwich.
Yeah. Fuck you.
I know, it's funny. I'm starting to really like Richie.
I know. It's
We've
amazing.
been watching it much slower. We're still not out of sight. I think we're season 3.
Good actor, and he's been in so many other things that you just you notice him, and you see he's got that distinctive face. But he will forever be known as Richie, just like Gandolfini will forever be known as Tony Soprano for obvious reasons.
Oh wait, and Janice kills
Richie
him,
was
right?
scary. What's that? Janice kills him. Yeah.
And Tony's like, shocked at the fact that he walks into rooms every once in a while. There's a body waiting for him.
Yeah, I know. Is that the same? Did Ralphie get killed in the same kitchen as Richie? I can't remember now.
I don't remember either.
Because Ralphie is in season
No, it's
3
a
and
different
4.
because he ends up in the bathtub.
He does, but he gets killed, and he's making eggs. Remember, they have that big fight. He's making him eggs, and then
Tony gets
brings
sprayed
up
in the
horse.
face with a Raid.
Right? Was that what it was? Raid?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
That's gonna be so painful.
Yeah, and it's a big fight. And again, Tony gets into a couple of fights, including Ralphie, where that was a hell of a fight. And then who could forget the fight he has with Bobby in the Adirondacks when Bobby went up to Montreal for
That was just friends having a fisticuffs. They're all both hammered.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, Tony kind of gave him the respect. At that point, as the boss, you're supposed to beat the crap. You're supposed to kill a guy that beat you in front of your wife and your sister. But that wasn't the case. So anyway, Sopranos.
Oh, the one driver that's ripped. He punches right.
Yeah,
in the mouth,
right.
At least still wounded.
There's a mob guy out of Long Island. I forget his name, and he was on Fox. He says, "Well, there's a couple of things. There's a lot of things about the movies in Hollywood that don't make any sense." And he brought that one up. He said, "There's no way a boss would do that to prove himself. That just wouldn't happen." So anyway, just forget the guy's name.
But again, this is Shakespeare. This is better than real life. Now that's how David Chase wrote it. It grew into something that was beyond what actual normal gangsters would be able to comprehend if they didn't open their mind. There's a guy who's online that's really cool. That
stick near the mic. Stick near the microphone. Go ahead.
His name is Michael Francesi, I think.
That's it. That's the guy.
He's cool.
Yeah.
So he was like the first person I encountered online. I don't know any gangsters, but when these people talk, I mean, they idolize all these old guys that have rolled over on their crews and everything. And he's the first one that spoke about all those things as business.
Right.
And he had a business mentality. So he would go through it very, very intellectually. And I guess he made his bones as a boss. Well, before he was a boss, he had some kind of gas thing going where they were escaping the tax for gas in New York State.
Nice.
And it was saving people like companies millions of dollars at all different gas stations all up and down the Eastern Seaboard were making money off of him. So he's the one who really communicates it like a business. He does say some scary things, but also remember he gave his life to Christ.
Yeah.
And he's very adamant about that. Mm-hmm. So you can tell there's things he knows he can't say, and he doesn't.
That helps to keep you out of prison. Yeah. He wasn't a good guy. None of them are.
Well, see, that's the first one I didn't think, like, when you hear these stories about these people, he's the first one that makes me think that he wasn't in it just to hurt other people. He was actually just making money. Right. And, like, things would happen. I was just reminded of Richie Aprile when we were speaking, and that was one of my favorite clips.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite clips with Richie is when they approach him and said, "You're going to build him a ramp." Uh-huh. "I'm going to build him a ramp up your ass. Fuck you." That's why when I did the Bada Binge, I tried to trademark that. I sent it to one of the groups on Facebook, and they looked at me. Who the fuck?
I think that's perfect. We should do a Bada Binge show.
I did. It's the Bada Binge. You watch all of The Sopranos, Bada Binge, right? And it's like, Italians are not the most creative people in the world. And if it's not their idea, it's not. It never happened.
I'm
right?
not speaking bad about Italian people. That's a third of my client base.
Well, sure it is. I grew up with it.
Why you want to make fun of an Italian? We got against Italians. It's Italian.
This is entirely necessary. So anyway, the greatest movies of all time: Godfather 1 and 2, and Sopranos, Godfather, Goodfellas, and that's about it. I mean,
I'm not a huge
there's
Goodfellas guy. Scorsese's so formulaic, but Godfather 2 with the De Niro parts, that was the one that when I was younger I used to just watch over and over again. I loved Robert De Niro.
I just saw the scene yesterday when the black hand is studying the light in the hallway. Because when I walk through this place, it is
a lot of that.
It's a lot of this. It's a lot of. See, he's got his chin. Why is it?
What have you got there?
Oh yeah. What
bang, bang, bang.
And he rips
and the
off.
Bloods.
Yeah. Oh, and then he pushes him over like he discards him like a piece of shit.
And he pulls the money out of his pocket.
And then he goes over to his family sitting on the stoop there in Hill's kitchen, and he's like, Michael, Bellas, what is beautiful in Italian? Bellasai. Mm-hmm. And the music changes.
What's really cool about, I think, the Godfather movies is the way that there's just like this deep-seated punishment endowed to Fredo. And it all comes, and at first it seems like it comes from the fact that he's driving his dad when his dad got shot. But if you go all the way in the back, he's just punished for being weak. They show him when he's got like mono or croup or pneumonia
when he's a baby.
Kid. Yeah.
And they're putting
it's almost like
leash on him.
Yeah, he's being like
chest.
Yeah. It's almost like he's being punished for being like slight or,
Well,
and then Michael finishes him off. It's just ridiculous.
but he explains that. But it's like Mom thought I was brought to. Remember when he's sitting in Havana, and he's talking to me. He's like, one banana daiquiri, and Michael's drinking club soda with lemon.
Michael's all business.
Yeah, he's all business, and I thought we'd go out. Oh yeah, Havana, my kind of town. But yeah, at that point he says, Mom thought I was put on the stoop here. Why didn't we ever do this before? And of course that's the late great John Cazale, who was in more great movies in the short
Deer
period
Hunter,
of life.
yeah.
Deer Hunter. He was in Dog Day Afternoon.
With
Godfather
Al
1 and 2,
Pacino, yeah.
With Al Pacino, and he was also in The Conversation, which was also a Coppola movie with Gene Hackman. It wasn't very good though, but anyway. And he was married to Meryl Streep, if I'm not
The
mistaken.
Conversation took all of Coppola's money.
Did it really?
Yeah, all the money that he had left over from not physical graffiti.
American Graffiti?
American Graffiti.
Really?
So he had to beg, borrow, and steal to get Godfather made. Because he used all that money to make The Conversation was his baby.
Right, that was his muse. He wanted to make that, and it wasn't very good.
I haven't seen it.
No, it's not very good.
Do you know
Gene
what-
Hackman's one of the greatest actors of all time.
What we saw recently, I mean, I'm way critical of movies.
Yeah,
So
you are.
we
Gotta be.
saw 2 movies under the radar back when they actually used to make cinematic movies that were just, I think, I'd never heard of, and they're fantastic. The first one was The Duelist with Harvey Keitel,
Okay,
which came from a French novel,
interesting.
and it's a period piece, and it just shows the tenacity and competitive nature of 2 separate soldiers or officers. And Harvey Keitel has to get over. He has to win. So he's constantly challenging this one man. It's what's his name? The Carradine kid, David Carradine's son,
Well,
the young one. Yeah,
David Carradine has a son in the movies. I didn't know that.
No, who is the Carradine that died?
David Carradine.
Yeah, his son, Keith Carradine.
Keith Carradine, yes. Good-looking guy.
Yeah, he was the
Good-looking dude.
the actual main character. And that the duels were so realistic looking. I mean, it was just fantastic. And it was a really cool theme. And it was early 19th century France, the Napoleonic era. And then we watched Fire in the Sky, who had 6 actors in it that you would recognize from the 80s and 90s.
Right, I love that.
And the gentleman who was he's in season 2 of Sopranos. He's the one who's sporting goods store they bust out.
Oh, the guy from the Terminator.
Yeah,
Davey.
Terminator 2. Yeah.
Doing a great job, Davey.
So
reminisce on me.
yeah, he's in it as the main character, and that is a movie about being completely misunderstood because of the circumstances. It has to do with alien abduction, and the alien abduction in that movie is terrifying.
Really?
Oh
What's the
my
name of
God.
this movie again?
Fire in the Sky, 1993.
This guy. Fire! Fire! So I often say that movies after 1982, or rather, I don't know how to explain this, but movies were great back in the day, and they're just not anymore. I'm sorry. TV shows are horrible. Netflix is a complete waste of time.
Yeah, it's Chinese.
Saturday
cinema.
Night Live is a joke.
I was talking about this. Like it fails to communicate points on Netflix so much at this point in time with these straight to Netflix movies. Not all of them, almost all of them though.
Right.
It's almost like they had a Chinese AI write the script.
Right.
And then they pay these people to be in it. Like I saw a movie when it first started happening. Vince Vaughn was in it, and it was about. I just thought it would be fun because it was about a brawl in a cell block, and it was him. Right. But I mean, everybody else in it was like people that they pulled off the street.
Right.
It was like a super B movie. And at one point, he confronts some kind of drug deal for some reason.
Yeah.
And he falls in the water in this marina, and then somebody throws a grenade in the water, and he puts his boot up and blocks the blast of the grenade.
Oh my
I'm like,
God!
you got to be kidding me! This isn't real.
We're supposed to believe that shit?
Yeah, and it was in the water too. It was just crazy.
Right.
So all these movies are not communicating the point. They're communicating specific points to people that are asleep enough to actually take them in and believe. And nobody that likes cinema will ever sit through these movies and actually give it a chance. I mean, I can't.
I can't either.
I mean, one of the most annoying things I do with Michelle has got to be that I find a movie that I like the picture of, and then I'll put it on, and 6 minutes in, I'm like, this is the worst.
You can't watch it.
I turn it off.
Freaky.
We still only have so much night left.
Peaky, yeah, right. Look, I don't want to waste 2 hours sitting here and watching something that 130 people put together in a matter of 90 days, and it took another 120 days to edit it and put it together, and another 120 days to distribute it, and now I got to sit through this crap?
Yeah,
not gonna
exactly.
happen.
So what was funny is that like it must drive her nuts because we just want to relax. But I see it as I only have so much time allotted in the evening because I do have to get up early in the morning. So I don't want to waste it with something that sucked. So we got to watch those movies on 2 back-to-back, or pretty much back-to-back nights, and it actually communicated a theme, which is important. More important than any other content is how many structures the message comes through to you. And now I don't watch Peaky Blinders because I think that the name of the show is absolutely horrible.
It's a terrible name.
Who wants to hear that?
It just sounds like a kid show or something. It really does. But here's
Peaky Blinders.
Everyone's talking like this. The Brits, we fought with the Queen.
Look at my hat and my vest. Yeah, nobody
Everything's
wants to
so
hear it.
dark.
Look at all the crime.
Yeah, look at that.
everyone's
Glenn,
so
you love this.
bad.
You love this. You're Irish. First of all, yeah, I'm 100% Irish and 100% ashamed of some of the shit the Irish did over the years. But that's neither here nor there. If it's a good movie, it's a good series, I'll watch it.
Yes.
But it's just so handheld cameras. I can't understand any. They have to put subtitles on it for people like me who speaks English, by the way, to read, to know what they're talking about.
So
It's like listening to. It's like Conor McGregor. What's his name? Conor McGregor. Whenever I love that guy. I don't know why.
He's
really
infectious.
I love that guy.
Well, you know how many fights he's thrown now? For so many hundreds of millions of dollars. The guy has more money than any other
How
fighter.
old is he? I mean, isn't he going to be?
He's 33,
He's
32.
years. Does he retire soon?
He's not going to retire. He'll be a prize fighter until he's 40.
But he's in great shape.
He's got a huge draw. He's got to win the next match, or else they're not going to
He's
have
going
as
to
much
lose
stock
his
in him.
legs. I mean, he's kicking people and he's taking his kneecaps out. What's the matter with you? You're 5 foot
Well,
nothing.
it doesn't
by
matter
the way.
when you have $300 million in the bank.
Yeah, I love it when he does the tunnel for towers. These people are risking their lives. It's like, do you really give a shit about anyone else but yourself? Really? Come on now.
It's fun.
But
it's a character.
He would be a good Bond villain. I think he'd be a perfect Bond villain.
The enforcer,
He'd
Odd
be
Job.
great. He'd be right.
I don't want him to talk.
Just instead of
What
having
was that one that they
instead of
had-
having a Muslim guy or some Russian guy, get Conor McGregor. He's a fucking villain right there.
Famke Janssen was a villain in one of those Bond movies. She was on a top. And she
Yeah,
used to
right.
kill people with her legs.
With her legs.
The way she looked back then, I'd be like,
That was
I
cool.
guess I'm going to go this way because you can get on top of me anytime.
Yeah. Who was that again? That was
Famke Janssen? Was that Timothy Dalton? Or was it the other one?
no.
Remington Steele.
No, yeah, it was Pierce Bronson.
Yeah, Brosnan.
Yeah. And it's funny that you should say because you're from Syracuse. Did you know that Grace Jones, who's from Syracuse,
Went to high school with my dad.
Yeah, did he? Did she? Did she? No one hears from. I don't know if she's dead or alive, but she was in a Christopher Walken Bond movie.
Live and Let Die. I think
No.
it
She was in A View to a Kill.
Christopher Walken was a villain.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a terrible villain. He shouldn't have been in that movie. That was one of the
I thought-
worst.
I don't know.
One of the worst. And in one of the few Bond movies that actually takes place in the United States. The other one you just mentioned is Live and Let Die.
Yeah, New Orleans. That one's fun.
Yeah,
Roger Moore's a fun Bond.
Roger Moore. was
Goofy.
my- was my-
Moonraker was goofy, but
It's the goofiest movie
I
ever.
believe
love
he's
it.
attempting to
Yeah.
achieve re-entry.
What's Bond doing?
I miss the womanizing Bond, though. In this day
Yeah.
and age, they made this
Right.
current Bond. I mean, he's a great action hero, but they made him such a panty
He's a
waste.
pansy. And he looks like he's 110. What's his name? Craig? What's his name?
Yes, I don't remember. He's blonde. He
he
alluded
look-
to being bisexual. in
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
movies. Fuck
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Oh, in real life, apparently he and
Well, who wants to know that? I mean, the reason why Bond was fun was because he was a pig.
right. Here. Well, he got tired. Just like guys like Mick Jagger, they got tired of banging women. So
Jagger's 84. He should be banging anybody.
well, I'm talking
Gotta
about
iron it out first, and
him
then
and Bowie were friends and so forth.
yeah, they're friends. At
At
least Bowie had the decency to die before he was a relic.
waking up with has that. It's just
Dancing in the streets?
No, not that. No,
Their
the other one.
silk shirts
No,
going like
they
this?
did the video, the late 70s. And yeah, do that again. It ain't the latest thing. How's that song go? It's in my head now. My stranger. Something on a friend. Oh God, I can't remember it. But they shot it somewhere in Greenwich Village.
That was in the album that came out in 1980. Right?
Yeah, right around the same. And they shot it on video. It just looked like something they shot at, like.
I think the Rolling
Any
Stones
Hill
are
show or
terrible.
something.
Like I'd rather listen to Kesha than the Rolling Stones.
Really?
Oh my God, I think they're just horrible.
But you don't like the Rolling
Oh,
Stones?
they're terrible.
That's un-American. Gotta like the Rolling Stones.
Un-American,
It's
they're not
un-British,
even-
so- ooh.
They're so inauthentic. They have like
What?
2 good songs and everything else is trash.
Come on. I mean, Hot Rocks alone has like 20 songs on it alone.
That
The
all
double
sound like they
album.
should be on the radio. They should be selling mattresses with those songs.
Excuse me while I talk to myself. Sometimes I talk to myself. Sometimes.
And Mick Jagger's like hideous, and everyone acts like he's some kind of sex symbol.
I'm just waiting on a friend.
That's it.
You
yeah.
can't, I'm sorry. You just can't get any, sorry.
I mean,
Zuckerberg's listening. You can't get any more blank than that. But
They're,
it's a great song. Great song.
Charlie Watts should have been more of a sex symbol than
Charlie
Jagger.
Watts. Jeez, all he needed was a couple of bolts on his neck. And
He's tall. He had a strong jaw.
Yeah.
And he got arrested for banging underage girls in Syracuse, New York.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Keith Moon got arrested here too.
Did he really?
But Keith Moon was a different type of
Right.
crazy.
Keith Moon.
He pushed someone out a window or something.
I think someone said on the Muppets that they mimic
Animal
after
I
Keith
believe
Moon.
it. Do you remember that's how Pete Townsend lost hearing in one of his ears? Is Keith Moon put explosives in his bass drum and they didn't tell anybody.
Talk about guys who got in trouble was Pete Townsend. He got in trouble about 15, 20 years ago.
He's
an odd guy. I love his music.
Pete Townsend's talent in one hand is more than the entirety of the lineup of the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
He's just the most brilliant. He wrote all those songs.
He did. He was, yeah. He also wrote Boris is a Spider. So
Boris is a Spider is a great Halloween tune.
Boris is a Spider.
That was on Dr. Demento when I was a kid.
How can, but he did also, I have a couple of his solo albums from the 80s. Give Blood was a great song. What was it? Slim Skirt? No. Slit Skirt was a great song.
So
I was only 20 years old when the phone it's on the Wii. Sorry.
So imagine the difference between him and Roger Waters, right?
Yeah.
And Roger Waters destroyed Pink Floyd, or he tried to the point that he got so arrogant he wouldn't call himself a member of the band. It would on the back cover of the album it would say music by Roger Waters, performed by the Pink Floyd.
Wow.
I mean, and they're just brilliant before he was even before he was even the main songwriter. They're fantastic.
Hold up. We got it. Insufficient. I got to call. Hold up. Give me a second.
Okay.
Stay right there. All right. Got to get another one. I thought there was enough on there. I just checked it. And we're still live, so that's good.
So yeah,
Hold up. Let me just start recording on this one. Okay, we're recording right now on the second disc here. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So the important thing is about cinema and TV and the cinematic TV as you love, right? And The Sopranos, and that many people love with Breaking Bad.
Right.
Is that's the key there is the theme in the cinematic TV and actual cinema. Real cinema has narrative pressure, and the reason why movies and shows don't look good to us is because it's got loose ends. It's got holes in it.
Right.
So in narrative pressure, everything has a meaning. So everything in the script and everything that's shot needs to have purpose, or else it's not.
Every scene should matter.
Literally every detail of every scene should matter.
And
with a placement in the background.
Right.
And
when you watch movies like Godfather 2 that we mentioned earlier, there's a scene, and there's several scenes where and it's a dolly scene. And I say that because they're in a moving car with the Black Hand, and Robert De Niro's character is the young Don Vito.
And he's got the clothes in the back.
He's got the clothes in the back. He surprises them too. He's a famous Italian actor, apparently, who played the Black Hand. And oh, too much violence to me. Whatever. And then he takes him on the cheek.
San Gennaro.
Right? When he slaps him on the face. But there's some scenes where, that scene rather, when we're driving along, and it seems like forever. They must have shot it in the same block, again and again and again. Mm-hmm. But it's so seamless. So guys like Coppola, who really knew what the hell they were doing, Lucas, to his credit, the same thing, Spielberg, they, just like, you get artists that create their greatest stuff when they're in their 20s and 30s. And then after that, you don't see their greatness anymore.
That's exactly my point. I was gonna walk into with this, is that it's almost like they're contractually obligated to make more material that they even have to make.
I mean, I haven't seen a good Steven Spielberg movie. Schindler's List was, was a fantastic.
I haven't seen that
but
yet.
it was over 20 years ago.
Jaws is one of the best movies.
Jaws is his best movie. Jaws is clearly his best movie.
It's so good.
And then you get guys like Oliver Stone, and some of the stuff he's created in the last 20 years. He did the World Trade Center.
He went off.
It was terrible.
He went off the rocker.
You look at, and then it's funny
rails.
because when I saw Wall Street for the first time, I didn't really like it. And I can't get I can't get enough of Wall Street. It's one of the best movies ever made. It's just a tremendous movie.
It's so good.
So well done. So indicative of that period. It's so 80s that should be that, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High should be the movie to basically demonstrate what the 80s were all about.
That's true.
Completely different movies, mind you, but they were so well
And
done.
different eras of the 80s.
Different
too.
eras.
5 years or so.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High came out in 1982, and I saw it when I was in college, and I just had gotten out of high school, and most of these actors were practically in their 30s playing high school kids, Phoebe Cates and so forth. But
Oh, I know that
and she's
dude.
yeah, and it's that's a movie right there, Josh, where every single scene in that movie is important.
Yeah,
every
I believe-
single
you're right.
scene is important, and you know it's the same old format. It's just like it's watching a 2-hour version of the Love Boat, where you have a lot of vignettes, a lot of stories intertwined, and you go back and forth to all of them. A great soundtrack, great acting, so well written, but no fluff, and that doesn't exist anymore. It just doesn't exist.
So what's really cool is Mike Damone never really was in another movie.
No,
And he had the immortal line, "Hey, you can't care if they come, stay, lay, or pray."
well, I don't remember that line.
Listen, man. You don't care if they come, stay, lay, or pray.
What was he talking to the kid when he was trying to sell him tickets? Or
No, he's talking about him talking to women.
oh, right. Sure,
Mike Damone is just it's brilliant.
She'll have Coke with that.
And they
ice.
actually gave him some depth.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, I mean, he seemed like a son of a bitch, they actually showed how he ended up,
right.
Being a scared kid. But again, he was like 40 in that movie too.
Yeah, he was the older guy, but he did soap operas. Damone's, I don't know his real name, and he was also in a movie that was written and directed by a guy from Watertown called The Liquid Psychologist, and shot in video. Wasn't very good, but again, there was a good actor right there, and he played that role very, very well. Not to mention Mark Ratner, who was based on a real life character that Jim Levin happens to know. And I spoke to him. There's a man by the name of Mark Ratner in the music business, the radio business, that Cameron Crowe based that character
Yeah,
on.
Cameron Crowe, that's the movie he wrote when he was 16.
Yeah, right. And
Here
then he
it
wrote
is.
Almost Famous.
Robert Romanus.
Is that his name?
Yeah. Love that dude.
He's very good. And
very
by the way,
old.
so is Ratner, who
Ratner
played.
was okay.
I saw him on an episode of some TV
He's
show.
like just a baby Woody Allen.
Well, that's what they all are. Well, the latest movie by Ridley. Who's the guy? A writer.
Listen. Ridley Scott is that the Duelist that I was talking about with Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
That was Ridley Scott's first movie.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So that we're talking back in the 70s.
77.
70s, because at the same time he did Alien. The same time,
About that, yeah.
around the same 70. He did Alien in 79. So that's interesting. So Ridley Scott, of course, then his brother was a director, and his brother committed suicide.
Tony Scott did True Romance that was written by Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino.
So, and he sold the script so he could make Reservoir Dogs.
Right? Isn't that interesting? So
And to take it full circle,
Yeah,
Harvey Keitel financed the rest of Reservoir Dogs.
did he really? And of course, Harvey Keitel was in Pulp Fiction and many other Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, he was
productions.
Mr. White in Reservoir Dogs, and then he was in Tarantino used him for a lot of
And
different things.
and Scorsese used him right in the beginning when he was making movies in the late 60s,
Mean
70s.
Streets,
Mean
yeah.
Streets with the big fat guy in that whole sequence at the pool hall.
So I don't want to
Good
check
stuff.
it up to the fact that these guys don't understand art because you don't get dumber as you get older. That's crazy.
Well-
the other things are important, but you've got to think that there's got to be something to be said for the fact that they had to mortgage something in order to make their early films, and that worked out doubly for whoever was investing in them. Because they created a certain product and persona, and then that persona was twisted and used to convey certain messages. Like the Irishman, I think, was an absolute piece of garbage.
It's an abortion.
It's like
it was an abortion, Michael. An abortion.
It's like 3 hours long.
Son.
Well, what man wouldn't? I mean, what's her freaking problem? She can live like a princess for the rest of her life and not get her hands dirty.
She
No,
didn't
she's got to
like-
be a bitch about
What
it.
about our son? There's nothing wrong with it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Just this one time.
Just no, that was Godfather 1. Well, she sets up that whole
that's
scene,
right. Yeah, yeah.
that whole scene. And by the way, here's what you do. Watch Godfather 2, watching the DC scene at the hotel when the kids are out in the hallway running and the nanny's trying to appease them and so forth. And they're arguing inside. Watch that scene and then go to Scarface, the restaurant scene with Tony Montana talking to Michelle Pfeiffer. And there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of similarities in those two scenes. Yeah. He's unbelievable.
Say goodnight.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yo, I can't make a baby with you. You know.
Your womb is so polluted.
Yeah.
I've got Nick the pig as my best friend. I think that's Michelle's life. That's why she hates me so much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And of course, Michelle Pfeiffer. I just realized this the other day. I was watching, couldn't sleep again, and I'm watching the sequel to Grease 2. Did you ever see that?
No, I have never
With Adrienne Zmed as Tony's character, and you know who his girlfriend is, who apparently was, I think, the same character as Olivia Newton-John. Michelle Pfeiffer
Oh, that's fun.
was in that movie. Yeah, it was a horrible movie. How
Yeah,
in the world?
I won't watch
It
musicals,
wasn't a
really.
play. Now, granted, they created music for the movie Grease that wasn't in the play that ran forever, but the second one wasn't a play, and they created all this music for it, and they thought, oh, this is going to be just as successful. It was a complete flop.
Now I want to see Scarface really bad.
You really should. And here's another thing about Scarface. Brian De Palma, who I don't really like he's okay. He's done great stuff.
He did.
But he's
Carlito's
another-
Way was really good.
He's another example of his best work was right in the beginning. Body Heat, Carrie.
He did Carrie.
He did Carrie. He did other stuff though. He did some really bad movies.
I have
over
a
years.
really quiet and stoic older brother who's in his early 60s, and he told me that he went to see Carrie when he was in high school.
Yeah, right. We all
and
did.
he said that was
Frightening.
absolutely terrifying.
It was.
The end when her hand comes out of the
Out
grave.
of the grave.
He said he almost shit his pants.
Yeah,
and this is he's a big kid. He's an athlete.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know how many people? I mean, there was a guy that had a heart attack in Jaws when the head scene came out. And that came out a couple years early, 1975.
So yeah, Oliver
make any
Stone and De
sense, though, that
Palma
scene.
and Woody Allen and Martin Scorsese and even Francis Ford Coppola, Sofia Coppola. I think I remember when she got divorced from Spike Jonze, and then I really read some stuff about her and you know who her dad is. I'm like, man, that poor Spike must have just been going an uphill battle with that shit.
Sophie,
every single day.
She directed the 5 Virgin Suicides or whatever.
Yeah, the Virgin Suicides, and then Lost in Translation with Bill Murray.
And I just saw that last night.
I love that movie.
I don't know what 10 years ago that came out. Or
It came in 2001. It came out before my daughter was
Did it
born.
really?
Yeah.
2001?
2002 maybe.
Was it really?
Yeah.
It looked like it could have come out yesterday, which is amazing.
Well, Spike Jonze character is in that movie, and it's a Giovanni Ribisi is her husband. It is Scarlett Johansson's husband in that movie. Mm-hmm. And that's supposed to be Spike Jonze. And Spike Jonze is a brilliant director. And just like, why would you throw this guy under the bus? Because he doesn't. I figure it's because she doesn't get treated like royalty by him. Because this is a blue collar. That was a blue collar director. Spike Jonze.
So who directed it? Coppola or Spike Jonze?
Sofia Coppola.
Okay.
She was trashing her because remember she's supposed to be Scarlett Johansson. That's how she wrote it.
Okay.
That's her character.
Interesting.
Right? And Giovanni Ribisi is the photographer that she's with.
That's Bill Murray.
No, Bill Murray is the actual himself.
Oh, okay.
He's the
Sorry.
famous guy.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So Giovanni Ribisi is the character that was he's Sneaky Pete. If you watch Hulu at all, is the con man, which is a fun movie or show too. It's just not.
What's the name of that movie in Hulu? Because I have Hulu. I don't watch any
Sneaky Pete is the TV show from maybe Prime.
of that. Huh. I get it.
So all these directors, I don't know. I can only suspect why they seem to go downhill, but it seems like they're using their persona and their name and their brand and the product that they create just to convey a certain message. Now,
I have a theory. I'm not to interrupt, but I'll tell you my theory. And John Cleese, who's a brilliant guy from
Monty Python.
Monty Python. He was in a
Tobacconist.
Fish Called Wander. I mean, so many other things. But as we get older, as we have grandchildren, you know, just like, you know, when your mom and dad, the way they treated you was a lot different than they treat your grandparents. We get softer. Mm-hmm. We're not the same people that we were, you know. So John Cleese all of a sudden says, nope, I'm not going to go to a certain college for an event because I have to atone to my sins. Apparently he did a bit about Hitler, and he was doing Hitler. And he felt so bad about that.
That's
so
good.
Here's my thing.
That's funny.
I think, of course it is. And he's a brilliant man. And yet now he's feeling bad for himself. And why? Because he wants to kowtow to the millennials. And that's what's happening. You get older, you get grandchildren. Spielberg, here's a perfect example. Spielberg did E.T. in 1982, right? We all know that. At the very end of the scene, there's a bunch of FBI agents running after the kid, whatever his name was, with E.T. on the bicycles, with guns in hand. 20 years later, in the early 2000s, Spielberg revisits that movie and edits those guns out of the hands.
he took out the word terrorist too.
From
the trick-or-treating
You
scene.
cannot do that because what you're doing is you're manipulating your own history. When you made the movie back in '82, it was okay. People need to understand that things were different back then. But no, we got softer. He put keys and flashlights in their hands instead of guns. This just a year or two after Columbine. And I get it. I mean, the world was changing, but you're not going to manipulate things and say World War II
I don't
never
want to
happened.
think. So
You
again,
you don't do that.
I think that they're owned. I think that they have a ton of money and they came from a certain place and they
It was
I mean, I
the
can
beginnings of
speculate.
political correctness, which has been undermining.
But I don't think it's them. I think it's the corporations.
Well, of course, but again, we talked about it earlier off camera. This guy Cantor, he's a 10-year veteran in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's from Turkey, intelligent guy. You say he's a dirty player. I don't really
He's a
care.
dirty
You
player.
got to play dirty in that.
It's
league.
okay.
Just like LeBron the
I
other night
think
with the
the
elbow.
NBA is trash.
Did you
so.
see LeBron James hit the guy in the elbow? I mean, the guy was furious.
Yeah, the guy should have kicked his ass.
He
What
should have.
happened.
LeBron is such a jerk. And anyway, Cantor is on Fox News this morning talking very, very candidly about how China is the worst country in the world. And China won't play any of the Celtic games over there, costing the Celtics organization millions of dollars. This guy, in my opinion, is the most courageous man around, other than the senator down there from West Virginia and Sinema from Arizona.
So
the most courageous
I don't
people
think
in
that
society.
that's costing Boston any money. It's costing the league money because there's profit sharing.
Well, it is because that money, profit sharing. If your game isn't being played in a certain market, China.
But all the money's put into a pot and
I'm
equally
sure it is,
distributed,
but
yeah.
from what they said, Boston's the franchise rather is losing money. So who's going to want to get that guy in a trade?
how much fun
Nobody.
is that? Yeah,
you'd be
but-
better off
yeah.
with Colin Kaepernick than have that guy in your team.
Well, Colin Kaepernick can't play the position, so
He
that's not
can't,
gonna happen.
and he knows that. That's why he changed the camp there.
It's tough.
2 years ago.
Can you imagine if everyone who was enslaved by somebody made tens of millions of dollars every year?
Just unbelievable.
So the thing is that there's nothing more fun for me to watch two very destructive cultures go at each other like that. I could care less who
Basketball. What are the cultures?
Islam and China.
Yeah, right.
I don't care who gets who. Like, I mean, there's such a small precedent put on human rights and the sovereignty of a person.
But no, I know. But when
So I don't. I mean, it's
when LeBron James talks about abuse in our system and defund the police, and at the same time they're literally housing people in concentration camps, and we know this, by the way. This isn't speculation. We know what they're
admit to it,
doing,
yeah.
But they don't care because money talks and everything else walks.
Yeah, it's a savage world, man.
Not to mention the guy, and again, I still think that the tweet heard around the world was the former general manager of the Houston Rockets. Now apparently he's with Philadelphia, and he just retweeted support for the Hong Kong rioters, and I think that's when they unleashed COVID-19. It's my opinion.
Well, that's
I think
pretty
everything
extreme.
It was not because we know where it came from.
Yeah,
and at the same time, Trump was pissing him off with tariffs, and he was going to drain the swamp. And
No, I mean all these things are actually.
to me, that was the feather that broke the camel's
You got to
back.
think that everything's planned 5 or 6 steps ahead. So COVID-19 was probably in the works about.
But
10 years ago.
well, maybe if they needed it, nobody knew, and of course funded by Fauci. What do you think about Fauci? What his legacy?
I don't have any opinion on Fauci.
Unbelievable. All right, so
I wanted to talk about
gotta
these
relate this
directors
to
and
hypnosis, by the way.
Yeah, well, we're getting there.
Yeah.
The message is pretty clear. That if you look at the timelines of each one of these famous directors, it does go downhill, and there really shouldn't be a reason for that. But it has to come down with the fact that all these messages are marketed, and now it seems like all this social pressure and economic pressure is coming through in art and cinema and TV, and you can't think that that's an accident. So it seems more like their brand has been built, and they all have a certain audience, and you and I both have certain audiences too, Glenn.
Yeah.
And if they want to speak to us, they speak to us through these forms of entertainment. Now that we've been more isolated, I mean, we haven't. Luckily, our country, has a certain history and a legacy that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, where people, don't take as much shit as they would in other countries and other cultures. And if you see the news and the news that you watch, that you're going to find they're talking about certain things in other countries that we don't know if it's true or not, but it seems like much more oppressive than here. So they've separated us, and they feed us these messages. So the thing is, too, that, more and more, the messages aren't as standard as mentorship and adventure and people discovering themselves, and the tragic life and death of certain Shakespearean characters like Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on with small talk.
Yeah.
And when there's no narrative pressure, when there's no actual purpose outside of yourself, when you're discussing things with people, When you don't have a message for somebody else except for what you can prove about yourself, then you are engaging in small talk or lack of narrative pressure. I use narrative pressure because I came from a writing background, but you can call it almost anything, right?
Hold up. Fuck. What the hell's going on? Give me a second.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell. I thought I cleaned these out. Everything's recording, but son of a bitch. It's telling me that I don't have any space on this. Give me a second.
Okay.
This is so annoying. Give me a second. Where is... Today's the 24th. Oh, that's why. Dip. That's why. Delete. I didn't see that folder.
Your mama's all right. Daddy's all right. Come on, the power of...
You're screwing up a good deal.
The rumor has it that I've heard with people that perform with him that the lead singer from Cheap Trick is kind of a douchebag.
Really?
Yeah.
And what's his name? Bunny Carlo? Is that his name? Come on, man. Where is it? Lost.
I just picked up a ton of followers on
Really? How so? Where?
on Instagram. I just picked up 6 during the broadcast. Everybody loves us.
That's good. Just on this broadcast?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. Dip. Day.
You ready?
Almost. I just got to delete this.
Yeah, and this I wonder what's going on at our gym. I love the gym so much, and I love the owner. But whenever I put something, I was doing an equation in chalk on the black wall.
Yeah.
It should just wipe off, you know.
Yeah. And
there's writing all over the walls,
right.
handprints and whatever. And she chose to only erase the corner of the gym where I wrote something. Rita, I don't understand why you did that.
Huh.
So I wrote something again today that said there's no math allowed in the gym.
Okay.
And she gave me what for at 6:30 this morning.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't understand that. But, you know, I guess to each their own. If people don't know how to do that algebraic equation, which I was explaining to my son that morning.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that.
Back.
And we're back. I got to make sure we get our camera up and rolling here. I don't know why. There's so many subfolders in this disc. Whenever we stream, it continues. So the stream was completely unchanged. So anyone watching us for the last 2 minutes, sorry about that. But nonetheless, here we are. So there I am, at least, high above Watertown's Public Square, the day before Thanksgiving. So where were we at? Sorry,
we're talking about the brand of these directors and these people that create certain cinematic TV shows and movies and any kind of art form that puts forth a message and how that message is carried forth and used to give certain messages to certain groups of people. Again, we're talking about how there's no such thing as small talk. Everything's actually got a purpose and actually does have a narrative pressure. So if you're not thinking of it and you're just talking about yourself, you're just trying to prove something and you're wasting your time. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. We're talking about the arc of each one of these directors, right? We talked about Brian De Palma.
It's Francis Ford Coppola. Steven Spielberg. Scorsese. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a huge fan of.
Oliver Stone.
You know, wait, there was that, and it's a segue, weird segue, but what is After Hours? So I used to watch Lights, Camera, Action on Nickelodeon when I was a kid. It was hosted by Leonard Nimoy, right?
Yeah.
And he did a whole special on the suit that was worn.
Pure energy. Sorry. Boom. Sorry.
The suit that was worn by the main character in After Hours by Scorsese.
Yeah.
And they never changed the costume.
Really?
So I guess they shot it in chronological order, and it was a white suit. It wasn't really a suit. It was a jacket and pants.
Right.
And as he went through his adventure in Manhattan that evening,
yeah.
and Scorsese did certain things with him. I think it's fun. It's a
really
lot of fun. As a matter of fact, in one of the scenes, he wasn't getting it right. He didn't have the right energy. So Scorsese told him, if you want to stay in this movie, you're going to run in that bar. This is in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
Order a drink order a shot, drink it, and run out without paying. And then you're going to shoot the scene right around the corner. Right. So the guy runs in, and of course, New Yorkers are so confrontational.
Yeah.
Orders a drink, drinks it in front of the lady, slams the glass down, and runs out the door before the security can grab him, runs onto the set, and he goes, action.
Yeah.
And he runs the scene, and it's a great scene, right?
Yeah. This is the After Hours?
So he seems so hurried. I've seen the movie, that part of the movie, right? He seems so hurried, and that was the story beside. And then, of course, Scorsese's crew went in there and paid for the drink. Right. But he was so nervous about doing that.
Hey, Spock just came in here. He didn't fucking pay. What the fuck?
So Woody Allen is another New Yorker that has a certain arc, and he had Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy, and he had Sleeper, and they had Annie Hall, and that was really his peak.
Yeah.
So when I explain,
Hannah and Her Sisters won Best Picture.
Did it really?
Yeah, it did, and so did Annie Hall.
Yeah, Annie Hall I think is his peak performance though. Pygmalion Effect.
1979.
So he had all these messages, and it was built to cater to our parents' generation, right? And it was really built into people who expected the finer things in life or expected to be seen as smarter, right? They wanted to prove something different than people that would maybe watch Scorsese or something like that, right? Like Woody Allen was supposed to be brainy humor, right? So
He was.
when I explain what
Him and Dustin Hoffman
he had
have
that,
been canceled.
what do you have, sour grapes? Whatever works.
Yeah. It's like I'm so neurotic.
Right. So he did Small Time Crooks with Michael Rappaport and Tracy Ullman.
Right.
And there's this one scene where I'm not going to go through the whole movie, but he's going into a house. He had found fame and fortune with his wife, Tracy Ullman. They split, and she ended up with Hugh Grant. And he wants to steal this piece of art back, right? I think it's a diamond-encrusted cigarette case from Louis XVI or something stupid. Whatever you can think of Woody Allen making ironic and thinking that he thought it was funny.
Right.
It would be that.
And he was very intelligent with references like that. He also mentioned, real quick, the Rosenbergs who gave nuclear secrets to the Russians back in the early 50s. In one of his movies, I think he mentioned it, he references Julius, his brother, for turning on his own brother. So he was also involved with the whole exchange and monies and so forth. But said, no, that was my brother and his wife who did it. So he made it as a reference in a movie. Not many people can do that and understand that, but he was such a student of history, and needless to say, a student of cinematography. But then he started losing it because he kept using the same Jewish characters and exploiting.
Formulaic.
It's like, okay, enough.
Just pumping out
please,
stuff.
Enough.
So remember, of course, he also thinks he's smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, well, of course he is.
And he said that. He had that ugly ass wife. I'm going to take that out.
Well, no, you're not going to take it. So he was married.
Definitely.
He was married to Mia Farrow.
That's who it is. I think Mia Farrow is hideous.
Oh well, that's crazy. And he was
do you really think that's crazy?
I think she's gorgeous. And,
really?
If you
oh
see
my
her,
God, she looks like she's from the movie Alien.
Rosemary's Baby. She's always been thin, but
With
she's
the cheekbones and the wispy shit.
She's a great actress. She reminds. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
Fucking bullshit.
But she was great. But anyway, he also went out with Diane Keaton, if you can believe that.
Well, of course, they
when he
worked
did
together.
Annie Hall.
That's probably why he did Annie Hall with Diane Keaton.
And Diane Keaton went out with Al Pacino.
Sun Yi.
La-di-da, la-di-da.
Come on, dude.
So, yeah.
With Sinatra?
Frank Sinatra. Oh, no, wait, hold that up again.
Oh, all right.
Hold it up. He's showing a picture of Frank Sinatra did marry Mia Farrow. They were together for like 3 weeks. And
Poor Frank.
Yeah. I've got you under my skin. Hey, Woodman. Keep it in the pants.
He, Woody Allen did Small Time Crooks, and there's a scene where, again, he's going into he's a professional thief. He's going to case the house during a big cocktail party in the Upper West Side, and take this $1 million artifact back, right? So he brings a date, of course, so he can have some cover. And I don't know the name of the actress, but she's brilliant because she had to play somebody super, super dumb, right? So she was super airbrained. So she's like, well, Woody, I don't know what to talk about with these people. I don't know these people. He goes, well, just talk about the weather, right?
Just if you're bisexual, you always have a night to go out. You always have a date to have on a weekend. Go ahead.
So he says, just talk about the weather.
Yeah.
Right? So this is what happens. He goes in, he does his thing. He's all hunched over and like looking around, you know.
Right.
And she walks through with a drink, a saucer, and a napkin, and she just walks over. She looks like a deer in headlights. She's walking through the party, and people walk up to her and go, hey, I don't think we've met. Hey, my name is Dave. And she goes, tonight, partly cloudy, high of 48. Tomorrow, sunny, chance of rain. So she goes through the entire weather report with every single person she meets, and that's all she says.
What movie is this again?
Small Time Crooks.
Remind me not to see Small Time Crooks.
What? It's freaking hilarious. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
So
It's so blatantly dumb that it's hilarious, and that's what small talk is like.
and I agree. And by the way, just as a reference, our friend Woody Allen, his greatest movies, just like we said before, were in the beginning, and you mentioned some of them. Whether or not he wrote, I don't know if he directed them in the outset, but Take the Money and Run is one of the funniest movies. Bananas is hysterical. Sleeper, you mentioned that.
I don't think Sleeper's funny.
I think Sleeper.
I don't think any of these are funny, to be honest.
Really,
with
I think they were funny. But and then because I saw them as a kid and so forth. But later on, he started doing more intellectual Manhattan-oriented movies, and that was probably his best movies. Annie Hall was the beginning. I still think Hannah and Her Sisters is a tremendous movie.
I never think intellectualism is a good choice.
Really?
Because you drop half the audience.
You do. You really do.
So, especially when you think that
most
what
people
you're
don't
talking
know
about
who he is.
Right. Most people think. I mean, the people
Or his
think
movies.
you think that it's smart what you're talking about. You're actually just alienating your
Well,
audience.
it's also. I mean, Woody Allen's a perfect example. He's probably the original guy that was really living in a bubble because he never left Manhattan. People would see him every now and then playing his saxophone at a local club. And even in Annie Hall, he makes fun of California and that he doesn't want to go out to the fast and free California out in the sun and whatnot. He likes living with the rats in New York City. Yeah, exactly.
he's pretty much just Ratso from Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah,
just
right.
More refined.
Which, by the way, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the greatest movies of all time. It really is. Midnight Cowboy, 1969.
The first movie in history to ever have an X rating and win an Academy Award.
Right. But it's funny because if you see it now uncut, it's no worse rather than an R-rated movie. I mean, there's some nudity in it, but
It was a different time.
it was a different time, no doubt about it. But it was very, very gritty. It shows
There's anything wrong with that.
a gritty side of New York City in the late '60s, particularly when he brings home goes back to the old guy's hotel room, and he thinks he's going to do a trick with him, and then he says no, and then he shoves a phone down his throat and he knocks his dentures out. You just didn't see that type of stuff in movies back then. That's how that movie broke a lot can It really
Yeah,
did.
Manhattan can be an odd place.
Well, here it is, a guy, and then of course, the Cowboys. John Voight's character, he reflects on how he was, molested as a child, and they show scenes of him with his grandmother staying in the same bed, and
That's wonderful.
That was a great.
Doesn't really
movie.
support the theme we're talking about.
No, it does not. It does not.
So there really isn't. Again, it's
but it won
just
Best
like
Picture.
it's like the woman giving the weather report to everybody who talks to her. And that's what small talk is when you're trying to prove something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very funny way, as you watched it, a very funny way to and an extreme way to give the message that when you speak and when you connect with somebody, there's always a purpose to be had. And there's people that do it very well out of the industry and don't realize they're doing it. And there's people that do it for different reasons. We, of course, in hypnosis know that when people have something that they need from us, and that's why they're in front of us, then that's why we give the suggestion we do in the manners that we do it. Mm-hmm. So small talk is evil. There's nothing good about small talk. There's nothing good
I don't
about
get that.
boasting.
Why is small talk evil? I don't get
Because
that.
it's all about the person who's giving the small talk. So they're always trying to
it's just
prove
like
something.
me. I know more than you.
Woody Allen, there you go.
Yeah, right.
To take it full circle. They should have a Woody Allen type character in
We
The
do.
Sopranos.
Yeah. Well, it was who was the guy that ran the Heck? What was his name? Sheck.
Hesh.
He was the Jewish guy that made a lot of money
He
off.
slept with all the black chicks.
Yeah. He was good. I liked his character.
He's all right.
That one episode where he thought he was going to be whacked by Tony because Tony owed him money, and then whatever. It's just the greatest show of all time. I'm sorry. There's nothing comes close.
You don't have to be sorry.
No, I know, but it's just I sound like my father said. We didn't. Anytime I introduced him to a movie from my generation, and every now and then I would show him a movie and he would be entranced by it. One day I sat down with him and my mom and we watched The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken, 1983.
Well, that's a fun movie.
And he sat there and he's just, he's like, I don't know about this. But he sat through the whole friggin' movie. And that one scene where the guy's committing suicide in the bathtub, where, the cop from whatever, it was the serial killer. Well, he has an open, and this is David Cronenberg. He always has crazy scenes like this. But he forces himself onto the sharp knife or the scissors
thank you.
in his bathtub. And his crazy mother's outside, blah, blah, blah. And I knew the scene was coming, and I happened to look over at my dad who was sitting, and he's just like, ugh.
I believe it.
It was really cool. And he liked the movie. He liked it a lot. And it was one of the best movies of the 80s. The best sci-fi movie ever made, no question. Not even close.
Huh.
Dead Zone. Check it out.
I've seen it.
Stephen
on VHS,
King's best
yeah.
adaptation. David Cronenberg directed it. Christopher Walken is fantastic in it. And again, it's all different scenes that go on from one journey to the next and then to the conclusion with Martin Sheen there at the rally with the kid.
Speaking of Stephen King, I quote Cat's Eye quite a few times.
Yes, I love Cat's Eye.
James Woods, yeah. It's
Yeah,
fun.
James Woods.
Critters Incorporated.
There's 4 different vignettes in that. So, and Cat's Eye was on like WPIX out of New York like every other week, it seemed.
Yeah.
For the Saturday or Sunday movie.
I remember. I watched it.
And it was so campy. And Alan King's character, when they were trying to quit smoking.
Yeah, he's great.
Did we talk about this recently? Because I just talked
I
to
talk
someone.
about it all the time, yeah.
With the loss of the pinky.
If you gain weight, yeah.
He's looking. And then the one woman, he's not quitting smoking. And they put the woman on the electric grid.
His wife. They kidnapped his wife.
That's crazy shit, man.
That's great.
That's really great.
That was Stephen King's a nut, man.
Yeah,
he's a 35-year crack addict.
Was he really?
Yeah, and he doesn't remember writing half those novels.
Stephen King?
He doesn't remember writing Tommyknockers at all.
Really?
Yeah.
And he was on crack?
Oh yeah, it was crack cocaine. It was.
You got any crack? Maybe I got a novel on me.
It was freebase
Got any crack?
Freebase and booze.
Freebase and booze.
Yeah, that was his thing. And then, of course, which makes it hilarious that, I mean, so ironic that he spoke out against Trump so much.
Yeah.
Because he's a drug addict and a weirdo. And like,
well, they said, what's his name? Aaron Sorkin was on coke when he wrote anything. And then
I can believe it.
Doc Ellis. You know, you're younger than I
Yeah,
am.
no, LSD, yeah.
Hell, he was high on LSD and he pitched the perfect game.
Right.
Well, no, I don't know if it was a perfect game.
It was a perfect game.
It was a perfect
Yeah, and
he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
The reason why he got ushered out of the major leagues is because he wouldn't stop hitting batters.
Was
He
that
would
it?
throw at people on purpose all the time.
And he was they call him Doc for a reason. He had a doctorate and stuff. He was a smart guy.
I think they call him Doc because he distributed drugs. Yeah.
Well, maybe
They have a special on him. They still won't show the full game.
of that game.
Yeah, you can't find it anywhere.
Really? And
So,
you could find
there's a
the Game
documentary.
7 of 61 of the World Series. You can't find Doc Ellis from the early 70s.
You could try, but I mean, the rumor had it. He had a documentary come out about 10 years ago, and the rumor had it that they wanted to shun that message.
That if drugs is no good for you, particularly LSD.
I mean,
when you're on the mound.
I kind of get it. So I always used to say that
He was a Yankee too.
I like the pikers, and I also like the people that indulge, and I like them both to be there because they balance each other out. So as soon as notice that, just think about this for a second, that the world started getting crazy as soon as the Vatican was infiltrated. So the Vatican was evil with power.
When was that? What year are we talking?
The new pope is the black pope, the Argentinian guy.
The
abortion pope and the gay pope and all this contraception.
Doesn't shake people's hands.
Yeah,
Or
so
won't let him
all
kiss
these
his hand.
anti-Catholic messages, and as soon as the Vatican fell, that's when everything started getting weird in the world.
Oh, speaking of Godfather, Godfather 3 is based on a corrupt Vatican.
I love that movie.
Oh, please.
No, I mean it definitely has. I mean, Andy Garcia is so good in that movie.
He is good
I love
in
it
it.
when he bites what's his name's face, Joe Mantegna's
Yeah,
face.
yeah, right. Doesn't he bite his ear? Or
I just love it.
one time. No, it's not a very
It's
good movie.
Santino's love child, right? With that woman that he banged
right,
at
with
the wedding.
against the Sonny.
He's
Well,
just like his dad.
Well, they say in the book, Sonny, they call him the horse because he's hung like a horse.
That's funny.
That's what they say. Actually, there's a scene
He's falling around
where
with this young girl. This young girl.
Yeah. It's spoiling your brains. What's the matter with you? Never let someone outside the family know what you're thinking. What's this?
So-
Oh, it's a gift from what's his name? Johnny Fontaine.
It's a Sicilian message.
Put him over there.
Luca Brasi
They say
sleeps with the
Luca Brasi.
fishes.
I'm a little worried. So anyway, what have we learned today? We're at the 1 hour mark here.
There's no such thing as small talk. Small talk is completely ineffective. And there's a reason why there's narrative
So
pressure.
should we interrupt people? And say, well, whoa, hold the phone.
I wouldn't.
I just learned from Get Real Podcast with Josh Kearney and Glenn Curry that this little bullshit stuff that we're doing right now is all about you. It's called small talk. I've been convicted of it before. We all do it, but it ends now. So stop it. I thought we were best friends. Not anymore. It's all about you. I learned that today. Is that correct?
No. So, I mean, if you want to break rapport, you could do that. But you
No,
want,
you don't want to do that.
You want to be friendly with people. You want to be connected to people, and you want to be able to know that your message has purpose and you're not just being a blowhard.
But the one thing, and then if I could just interject here, the one thing that I've noticed a lot of people do, the guy I work for, Jim Levin, and I can say this because I pick on him all the time. He's a conversation bully. You know what that means? That is someone, he's a one-upmanship guy. But it's not just Jim. It's my sister, everybody I know. It's a New York thing, that's for sure. But it's universal. It's everywhere. You say something, I saw this. Oh, I saw something bigger. Why do we do that, Josh?
I don't know. I just know that people like in his position, I just walk away from.
Yeah, it's tough to do because he's just.
I
had him on my show the other day.
I had him a baseball coach. Want to talk about my son, and that was the way the conversation went at one point. I actually really like this guy, but
yeah.
And as I interjected, he goes, "Oh no, don't talk. I'm going to talk."
Really?
And I was like, "Well, I guess the conversation's over then."
Did you say that?
Yeah, I just got up and
good
left.
for you. Because that's why would he say something like that?
I think the problem is, and I'm not going to put this in the broadcast. The problem is, it's a different topic. But at one point, I've seen this happen several times in sports. One time, I emailed a travel coach for 12U, which is kids,
right?
And I said, I'd like my son, if you would in practice work with him on the infield, so he's not just pigeonholed to the center field,
right?
And not only did the coach not. And remember, we're paying thousands of dollars for this.
I'm sure you did.
Would he not train him on the infield? He gave me a stupid response, and then my kid had to sit out the next game because I emailed him. And I'm going to tell you what, they almost had to roll that guy out of the parent meeting. I asked for a meeting at the end of the season, and I crucified him in front of his boss. Mm-hmm. And he deserved it. He's still a high school coach now.
Right.
And I have I am so wary of youth coaches. And you wonder why, and then they walk around like they finally found a situation where they can be the one in charge. Like it's a Dr. Seuss book. It's like clown season.
Right. It's power. And again, I'll tell you, I mean, honestly, when you see someone like that, I watched the Little League World Series, and these guys feel like they're Billy Martin or Joe Torre. They're out there because they're on national TV, and they go out there, they have a live mic, and okay, you know what to do. You know what to do. No, you're out there because you're on fucking ABC or ESPN right now. Mm-hmm. This is what we're talking about.
There was a sports.
This is all about you. This has nothing to do with the kids, and that's what's happened. Because
do you remember Sean Burroughs?
No, I don't. Who's Sean Burroughs? He's a football player.
No, he played third base for the Padres.
Okay,
so he came to fame because he was on the Toms River, New Jersey team that won back-to-back Little League World Series titles, and this was back in the '90s. So Tom's River, and this also goes to show people with development arcs that kids that are awesome at 16 or 15 or 12, they've got to keep working because they get surpassed very easily. You don't need to worship youth athletes. It's crazy, right? So he was like Mr. All-American 12-year-old and 11-year-old baseball player in Little League. He ended up just being he worked his ass off too, but he didn't make it in the major leagues. I mean, he played for like 4 years, right? He batted like 215 or something crazy like that.
Right.
So but he was worshipped by all the men. And there's an article in Sports Illustrated about people vying to be the coach of that team.
Right.
And there was arrests made. There was death threats, and someone got poisoned, and there was fist fights, all because, to your point, everybody wanted to be a manager of that Little League baseball team that had been so successful in the past and got Little League World Series. Like they're going to get out of town. Who wants to, first of all, it's not even real baseball. It's like Little League. Like none of these guys are like dominant when they're 12 because they're the size of a 14-year-old. Right. Yeah, let's see them play against 16-year-olds and see what they do. I always tell kids, like, you might think that you're great and you are great against your peers, but go ahead and play a 19-year-old and see what the hell happens against this 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
But again, getting back to the coaches, they're living their lives vicariously through their players. And because technology, they're playing on synthetic fields. The uniforms are better. They have cameras. They have all types of equipment. Why wouldn't you think that you're in charge of a Major League Baseball team? It's too much power.
Because you have to have perspective.
It's nothing new because if you watch the movie, and by the way, I saw it like 2 months ago, the original Bad News Bears is so politically incorrect by today's standards. I love it. It's one.
I can't even say the lines to it.
Vic Morrow is the quintessential nasty coach, even to his own son.
Yankees, yeah.
And he's for the Yankees, too. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I remember. And
he was amazing. He was an amazing actor.
What does this turkey think he is, Mickey Mantle?
Yeah, right. It's like...
I love Kelly in that movie.
Let's give him a big hand.
He goes in to watch, like the players go in to watch her in the ballet studio, and he walks up to the teacher and goes, hey, babe, I drive a Harley Davidson. Does that turn you on? Yeah. He's like 12 years old. I love it, man.
And he's so good. And of course, his career went nowhere until like 20 years later. He played a pedophile in a movie. The guy that you just mentioned from the guy.
He was in The Watchmen too. He played Horshack.
He's
or Rorschach.
Horshack from Welcome Back, Kotter.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter. If you watch,
Mr. Carter.
If you watch
Juan Epstein.
Oh, Juan Epstein was the best. He was like Chico Marx. He would even impersonate Chico Marx from the Marx Brothers. They were all good. Boom Boom Washington. If you watch the original Death Wish, he's one of the bad guys in Death Wish.
Also
so is Jeff Goldblum.
The blaxploitation film Coolie High.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Again, all these
With
guys.
the guy who's
they're great actors. They're great characters. Boom Boom Washington also played Michael Jackson's father in a made-for-TV movie.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. Joe Jackson. Yeah. What a scumbag. All right, man.
That look on his face. He always had the perpetual smile. You ever notice that? He just looked like a cartoon. Joe Jackson looked like a cartoon character. Oh, okay, so anyway, you've been watching the Get Real podcast.
Get Real. Stop the small talk.
Thanksgiving version. I know some of it has to be edited. I don't know why. I'll have to edit out the stuff when I lost my.
Because it's got to have a theme. I'm not supposed to do more than 18 minutes.
Well, you beat that 3 times for today once again.
Maybe we'll make 3 shows out of it.
So anyway, hopefully Michelle is watching back home in her one-piece red, white, and blue bathing suit. So that's got to be edited out as well.
If you want to contact Glenn, he is on WATN at 5 o'clock, the Live at 5 show.
Right. And right here, we're going to unleash a 6-show episode or series right from this very room called The River, Living the St. Lawrence. Finally, episode 6 after 100 hours is done.
So in the end, and we're looking forward to watching that. I'm going to watch it. I know that. I would suggest you watch it as well.
Yeah, we got to get them to PBS too.
So in the end, remember your speech, your communication, your connection, your message has purpose. And the reason why you like the things that you do like is because it speaks to you in the same manner.
Right.
So remember, you don't have to prove anything. And it's good to be ordinary. And we love you, and happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at the Get Real podcast, and some of us on the Boston Celtics and the Uyghurs and in their concentration camps doing all that manual labor. We'd like to wish them a happy Thanksgiving as well.
Yeah.
I can't even do it with a straight face.
All lives matter, right?
Chairman Mao.
Yeah.
Mao!
Kamala Harris, acting President Kamala Harris, who's a very attractive woman.
Yeah, she is an attractive
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. Thank you for pardoning
the turdies. She's dumb as a
turdies.
box of bricks, but she's an attractive woman.
I think that you should do all of your news conferences in a bathing suit.
For Kamala? Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's incredibly good looking.
And with Montel Williams at your side.
Perfect.
Perfect
a
skin
Marine,
tone. A fellow Marine.
He was in the Navy.
Oh, I thought he was a Marine.
No, don't.
Interesting.
Please.
Oh, okay.
He's a squid.
Yeah.
Squidward.
Squid. Good. All right, you've been watching let me come back to me. Thanks for watching Get Real Podcast right here overlooking Public Square. There we are. Josh Kearney, thank you very much.
Have a great Thanksgiving, folks. We love you.